everyone, welcome to Enquire to Choir. My name is Eva and I'm here to help you, fellow choir people. Yesterday evening when I was leaving the rehearsal, I overheard a conversation my choir members were having. They were talking about the new piece we have put together after many separate rehearsals for voice parts. One of them said, "I love that feeling when you finally hear all the parts together and everything starts to make sense." I got a bit emotional when I heard this. I believe my exact thought was, that is the meaning of life. I'm not even kidding. But anyhow, it made me think how teaching choir parts is also a skill, and I don't do it the same way for every choir piece. So the topic of this video became how to teach choir parts. Frankly, there are two main ways. The first one is for all the choir parts to learn it together at the same rehearsal, or you do it in separate rehearsals. Each voice gets a rehearsal. However, if you have a large choir with many singers or you're doing a long and a difficult piece, often a rehearsal which is not separate has a very big problem. Everybody is waiting a long time for their part to come up, and the whole rehearsal is not very efficient. The first thing I will tell you is analyze every new choir piece you're doing separately. Then decide if it's better to read it during separate rehearsals or everyone together. This often comes down to how much time you've actually got. When it comes to separate rehearsals, this common practice is very logical. You do a separate rehearsal for each choir part. However, think about how you want to do it. And this comes to knowing your choir. Have you ever had an experience of everybody knows their part really well when they sing it by themselves, and then they can't find the right note when there are other parts singing? Never? Really? For example, maybe it's not very efficient for you to do an alto rehearsal because when you add the sopranos for them, they lose everything and they can't find themselves. Don't get mad at me because I chose altos for this example, but I do think altos have it the worst because they're in the middle of all the harmonies. And the reason why I think this way is pretty similar to the one I explained in this video here. If your choir voice groups are very steady, there is no need to combine them, especially if it is a very long piece. But I think it's not a bad idea, in this case of altos I mentioned, to do a separate alto rehearsal, then a separate soprano alto rehearsal, and then combine them all together. I am talking about soprano, alto, tenor, bass choir because it's the most general case. The crucial part of these separate rehearsals for me is do all the details when it comes to breaths, dynamics, and holding the right pitch. I am going to talk about this a little bit more in the next week's video, so stay tuned. But for now, it is a huge deal if you manage to connect music information about the way they're going to be singing something with the right notes immediately, because once you get the whole choir together, the group sound will already have a better definition of the idea where it's going. So don't miss that opportunity. You save time that way. Don't first do just the right notes and then add the musical aspect. Connect it immediately. And if there's any way for you to make it happen, don't do separate rehearsals very much apart in time. If sopranos, for example, learn their part on this Monday, don't make them wait a month for the whole choir to gather again. They will forget everything, and you will have to do it all over again. Try to do separate rehearsals really close together. And bear in mind, if you have 2 hours of usual practice when they're all together, you can take an hour for sopranos, an hour for altos. You don't have to have the 2 hours separate as well. That's just my experience and opinion. And then there are group rehearsals. In the video How to Improve Your Choir Sound, I mentioned it's about how all the voices are correlating to each other when it comes to color. This is the biggest upside of reading choir parts together with everyone without doing separate rehearsals, because you can adjust their voice colors, you can adjust the timbres right away. I often see people doing the group reading this way. They take a huge chunk of music, for example 16 bars. They start working with the sopranos until they read it and they manage to memorize it a bit, learn it. Then the altos, then the tenors, then the basses, and after everyone read and learned it, then they combine together. Again, a lot of waiting. I know sometimes you just can't help it with the amount of time everybody's waiting, but sometimes you can. Don't do 16 bars. Do, for example, 4. Take the smaller part. It takes much shorter time to read and learn. I do this way. Basses learn it, tenors learn it, tenors sing it with basses. Altos learn it, they sing it with tenors and then add the basses. Sopranos learn it, add the altos, add the tenors, and add the basses. This way, everybody's engaged all the time because they know they don't have much time to wait around because everything is going on so quickly. Plus, they repeat their lines more times this way. After doing the first 4 bars, for example, starting from the basses and building it from the ground up, the next 4 bars I tend to do starting from soprano, then going downwards. I feel like this way there is some justice. Why do I do this? Not just to save time, but because this way I can immediately adjust their colors. I make them indirectly listen to each other more and I make their ears more accustomed. Plus they get very familiar with all the musical lines, so their pitch can become better for it. And some final advice, in my experience, it's not a good idea to do a group reading first and then the separate reading, the separate rehearsals. It's like giving mixed signals. First you make them listen to each other and then you make them listen to themselves, which is okay because they need to be able to do both, but the order of events, I think it's a bit strange. So first the separate reading and then the whole group. And who knows, maybe you will hear the sentence, everything starts making sense, like I heard yesterday evening. And that's it! A shorter video today, but I hope it was helpful. Just to let you know, if you're working with people who can't read music, I think this video is applicable to you, but there is a separate video for you. I will link it down in the description and also here. So be sure to check it out. I hope you find this video helpful. If you did, let me know down in the comments. You can like the video, and if you wish to see more from Enquire to Choir, you can subscribe. Thank you for watching and thank you for being here. Conduct well, conductors, and I'll see you next time. Bye!